Mr. Allen, would you read item number 6 into the record, please?
Madam Chair, members of the board, item 6 is from the District Attorney. It's a hearing to consider recommendations regarding the Misdemeanor Diversion Program.
All right. Good afternoon. Who's going to start off? Mr. Auchincloss?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. In this climate of diminishing resources, county agencies have been challenged as never before to come up with fresh ideas and creative solutions to create new efficiencies in government. In the District Attorney's Office, since Joyce Dudley was elected, we have implemented an early disposition program to achieve speedier dispositions in felony cases and relieve court congestion. I know you've heard about our extern program where we have volunteer attorneys who provide free services in exchange for valuable experience. And of course our truancy program, which we're very proud of. And probably the most effective crime prevention tool we have, and Supervisors Carbajal and Lavignino helped create this program, and each one of you was instrumental in supporting it. Our latest project is misdemeanor diversion. What if we could reduce our caseloads in the District Attorney's Office by 10 to 15%, talking about 1,000 to 2,000 cases, possibly more. Reduce congested court dockets by the same number of cases. Reduce caseloads for the public defender and conflict defense attorneys. Preserve probation resources. Reduce the number of offenders sent to jail, and obtain victim restitution before we even file a case. What if we could do all of these things and reduce recidivism at the same time? That would be pretty remarkable. Well, these are the very attainable goals of misdemeanor diversion. Now, there's nothing new about the concept of diversion. The basic idea is that criminal cases are diverted from the criminal system, and offenders avoid prosecution by successfully completing rehabilitative programs. We've been achieving positive outcomes in diversion cases for decades. Penal Code 1000 has been in place for over 20 years, and that's a diversion program for first-time drug offenders. Here in Santa Barbara, we have a young offenders program, a youthful offenders program, where young adults, 18 to 21, who have alcohol-related offenses are diverted. We have a similar program for young adults for theft programs. And our bad check program has been providing victim restitution for local merchants who have received bounced checks for years and years. Diversion for non-recidivists, low-level misdemeanor defendants or offenders is a newer concept, but it's something that's achieving great acceptance nationwide. And in California, it's sweeping the state. Here in California, programs are currently up and running in Orange County, Sacramento County, Merced County, Yolo County, and the list continues. Here's how it would work in Santa Barbara County. First of all, our misdemeanor diversion program would be diversion at a pre-filing stage. So before a case even enters the court system, we would evaluate it. The case would be reviewed like all cases. Our filing deputy in North and South County would review the charges that come in from an outside agency and determine whether charges are justified under the law. We then would look at the offender and the offense to see if they're eligible for this program. Ineligible offenders would include convicted felons, of course, recidivists, and our definition of recidivist is someone who's had more than 2 offenses of a same or similar variety. Offenders on probation, crimes involving physical injury to a victim. So if they have a past experience where they've caused some significant injury to a victim, they would be excluded, and crimes involving criminal sophistication. So after we look at the offender themselves, we then look at the offense, and there are certain offenses that would be ineligible for this new program. For instance, Offenses involving physical injury to a victim, if the new offense involves a physical injury to a victim, they would be excluded. Driving under the influence cases, weapons violations, animal cruelty, and of course the more serious types of misdemeanors that we get, including sex offenses, hate crimes, stalking, and domestic violence. So, that being said, what types of offenses would be allowed into our new program? Well, they'd be the lesser misdemeanor offenses only. Offenses like petty theft, driving without a license, possessing drug paraphernalia, a fender bender type of hit and run, drunk in public, trespassing, disturbing the peace. Now, this is not an exhaustive list, but this gives you an idea of the kind of low-level offenses that we would be allowing in. So really, the least serious of the least serious offenses. Now, it's important to understand that these cases currently get very little attention in the criminal justice system. Typically, the disposition might result in a credit for time served terminal disposition. Often, informal probation would be provided. And there are very few programs that are provided for these types of offenses. And really, when you think about it, these are the type of offenders who probably would benefit the most from getting a program. Jail is typically in the form of electronic monitoring or a sheriff's alternative program. So I want to emphasize this. It's important for you to understand. This program is going to help our jail overcrowding problem. It's not going to remotely solve it. It'll have a small impact because, as I said, most of these individuals, while they may be sentenced to jail, they don't actually serve time in jail. But it's going to save tremendous resources for our sheriff's department because each person who gets sentenced to jail has to go out to the jail services, the sheriff has to deal with them, they have to implement the program, and a lot of extra work for the sheriff.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you just for a moment. Supervisor Wolf?
I'm sorry, too, because this is a great presentation.
Sure.
But I just have a question for pre-sentencing. And I just don't know how this works. So if someone is arrested on a misdemeanor and they can't post bail, they're incarcerated in county jail until they have a hearing?
Well, most of these offenses, the vast majority of these offenses are cite releases. Very few of these are cite releases, and by that I mean a citation is issued.
Okay.
The arresting officer gives them a reporting date when they should report to jail or to court for a particular offense. So the type of offense where individuals end up incarcerated and on bail, those are not the lesser of the lesser misdemeanor offenses. Those ones the sheriff is very quick to clear out of their system.
Okay. Thank you for that.
So, as I was saying, this is really, while we hope it will impact jail overcrowding in a positive way, certainly will not solve the jail overcrowding problem because of what I just mentioned. And I should also mention that I was recently alerted that there may be a fiscal impact to the courts because courts won't get fines in these cases. So that's something that should be considered, but we believe that the savings and resources to the courts alone, will well outstrip any fines. And when you consider the savings to all of the other agencies, the benefit multiplies. So we think that's not as much of a consideration.
Excuse me, Mr. Auchincloss, just tell me again, what is the definition of petty theft?
Petty theft is a theft of less than $800.
Less than $800.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So, in any event, the new offenses, as I was saying, I think that the impact on the courts will be de minimis compared to the benefits overall. So, let's move on. If an offender is eligible, they are sent a letter offering the offender will not have to go to court, no criminal charges will be filed, they will not have criminal sanctions, they will not have criminal conviction on their record, if within 90 days they complete a rehabilitative program or programs and pay any victim restitution. So the payment is, here's the basic payment structure. First of all, For a single class, it costs $250. The maximum number of classes is 2, and the price goes up to $450. If restitution is involved and restitution has to be collected, there's an additional $25 a month for the costs in recovering that restitution. Of the $250 or $450, $50 of that comes back to us from the program, to the DA's office, for our costs in starting and running the program. Now, an important point here is that if the offender has an inability to pay, is indigent, we'll waive those fees. So we also have that as a built-in provision. So recap, if successfully complete the rehabilitative program, if they pay restitution, DA agrees not to prosecute, no conviction. But if they turn down the offer, or if they accept the offer but fail to complete it, in other words, fail to keep their end of the bargain, then charges will be filed and will proceed criminally on those cases.
Mr. Auchincloss?
Yes.
Supervisor Wolf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Of all the counties that you had listed up there, do they have the same or similar structure for payment? In other words, do the counties also get $50, or do some of them get more?
It varies. Many counties charge administrative fees, some don't. The range is as high, I believe, as $200 for the DA, and as low, I think, as $20.
So in the contract, is our contract with this agency for a year so that could be renegotiated if you find that you're spending more time and need to increase that amount?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Thank you.
And maybe I can check with Walter Stockman. He's from Pacific Education Services. That is correct, yes. Right, that is the agreement.
Supervisor Gray?
Mr. Auchincloss, if they reoffend, do we keep a record so that we know that they were in the misdemeanor diversion, and then if they reoffend, it counts as a reoffense?
Good question. If they complete the program, no conviction. So they enjoy the benefit of not having that on their record.
So we don't even keep a list?
What's that?
We don't even keep a list of who's been in that?
We definitely keep a list. The district attorney's office knows if they've had the benefit of this program, and we will not offer it more than once, unless it's an exceptional circumstance where we think that individual would benefit from being recycled through again. But most of the time, it's a one bite at the apple rule. So the program that we've created is dynamic, and it's a collaboration between Pacific Education Services, which is a statewide agency and probably the leading agency in the state of California for these programs, and our local Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse. They're going to work together to craft programs for these individuals that would be eligible. I've also extracted a promise from Pacific Education Services that they will hire local program facilitators. So we'll be creating a few jobs out of this, hopefully. The dynamic that these classes use is a cognitive group therapy process using evidence-based practices. The program is either 6 to 12 hours, depending on whether there's one class or more. It will be available in North and South counties, and classes are available in English and Spanish. The types of classes that will be available: theft and property offense classes, and there's 2 levels to that first class, level 1 and 2. Misdemeanor vehicle code violations, drug and alcohol classes. Again, drug and alcohol has 2 levels, which we can impose, and the DA can make some adjustments there. Anger management and life skills, which also has 2 levels. Now, one of the nice...
Mr. Auchincloss, I wanted to ask you about the life skills. You said that people could take 1 or 2 classes at the most. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And maybe this is a question for the people in the audience that represent the program at some point in time for them to respond to, but it seems to me that the life skills class would be one that would be kind of good as a bedrock for everybody to take, because clearly whatever they've done in the other categories might benefit from what are you doing here? Why did you happen to have this, make this serious mistake or this real lapse in judgment? So unlike the other categories, the life skills seems like it would be applicable to everybody.
That's a great point, and when I was investigating this process, I spent a couple of days down in Orange County watching how their system worked. And I actually attended one of the theft classes presented by Pacific Education Services. And I can tell you, there's a life skills component in every one of these classes because, as you point out quite correctly, everybody in this group is making bad choices. And that, I think, is a fundamental element that has to be looked at for each of them. And Mr. Stockman can probably help me out here if I'm correct on that. You're correct, absolutely correct. Because, but in any event, the point you make is a good one, and what's great about the fact that we have a selection here is we can say, okay, you're going to attend the life skills program, but we also see that you need to attend a theft program. So we can mix and match these, and believe me, life skills is going to probably be the most popular one that we use. So, moving on, one reason we chose to work with Pacific Education Services, as I said, they're the leader in the state in terms of running these programs, and I received high praise from every district attorney's office I spoke to about their services. But probably the biggest reason is the fact that they have a proven track record of success. In Orange County, where this program's been up and running for several years, they did a 2009 study. Pacific Education Services did a 2009 study. And that's a big county, so they have a big sample, and they were able to do a thorough study. And this study in Orange County on recidivism showed that before the program, the recidivist rate for this group after 1 year, so it went out 1 year from the date of the program, was 22%. After the program, the rate dropped to 6%. That's pretty impressive. Now, the Orange County District Attorney's Office thought that might be a little too impressive, and they did their own separate study. They have a research department down there, and they did a separate study to validate these findings and came up with virtually identical numbers. So, great success in Orange County. We don't know what our success rate will be, but we're going to be trying to track that, and we're hopeful that we'll be able to achieve some drop in recidivism with this group. So there you have it. Basically saving resources for the district attorney's office and our partners in the criminal justice system, and obtaining better outcomes. First of all, for the offenders, we're going to achieve the benefit of hopefully rehabilitation, some form of rehabilitation. They're going to avoid a conviction. Hopefully they're going to have a little brighter future. They're not going to have this conviction when they apply for a job or apply for licensing. Better for victims, who I hope will appreciate that something positive, there's a positive outcome here. And, of course, our victims will be obtaining restitution up front, something that we're thrilled to be able to do. And finally, for our community, with the hope of a drop in recidivism with this group, we see this as a classic win-win situation. So I hope you agree with me. And today, we're here to ask you to approve the contract for a new misdemeanor diversion program between our office and Pacific Education Services.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the presentation. Supervisor Lavanino.
Mr. Arkansas, I have a question. Thank you, Madam Chair. And I know this was in Orange County, and I know they have a little bit different demographic than we do. I'm curious as to we're going to be collecting the money per offender unless the offender is deemed indigent. And on a lot of these cases up in North County, I would imagine that might be the case. Have we looked at what the percentages are of those that we find that we might not even be able to collect from, or we built that into the program? Or
we've built it into our program,
okay.
And we're confident that we're going to be able. I've relied a lot on Pacific Education Services to help me with this because they have broad experience in a variety of counties with very similar demographics to ours. And they feel very confident that and they also have access to our records in terms of convictions and what types of offenses we prosecute. And they feel confident that this system will work very well in that population.
Okay. I just wanted to say I think this is always our district attorney's office under the fine leadership of our district attorney, Joyce Dudley, and yourself, that always coming up with innovative ideas, ways to reduce cost, and also to provide the services that we need. So I appreciate it. This is a great program.
Thank you.
Supervisor Carbajal and then Supervisor Gray.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, what can I say? DA Auchincloss and District Attorney Dudley, you continue to mesmerize us with always thinking of about programs that can help us save money, help us improve our system. So my hat's off to you, and I want to congratulate you for just continuing to bring those fresh ideas to us. I think you do a remarkable job. Having said that, you know, I'm assuming you did an RFP and you found these wonderful folks from Orange County and other areas, and I'm sure they're very able at what they do, being that you have been able to identify their success in other areas. Do we have any relationship between them and one of our local drug and alcohol providers? Because we're always trying to find how we could keep some of these dollars local. Mm-hmm. And as you know, we have a network of drug and alcohol providers that this county supports and has relationships with. So I know the answer, but I'm asking it so that I could hear it from you. If you could maybe shed light on that, that would be great.
And that was a concern that we had as well, because we like our local providers and we want to keep them up and running, and they need our support. And so we did open this up to bids from local providers, and I mentioned it, but it kind of went by briefly during my presentation. We are including the Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse in this program. They are going to work hand in hand with Pacific Education Services. They're going to get a piece of the pie. They're going to be working in North County and South County. And that concern that you've expressed is the very reason why we took that extra step. And we conditioned our contract with Pacific Education Services so that they would accept a partnership with our local agencies such as that.
Thank you. Somebody once told me, don't ask a question you don't know the answer to, and I kind of need this answer, but I want to hear it for the public to hear it as well.
I think that's from attorneys as well. So Supervisor Gray?
So Gordon, it works like this then. A person is arrested, and then they're either site released or possibly OR, or would it have to be totally site released?
I would say the vast majority of these cases will be site released, but possibly OR.
And then the site goes to the filing deputy, and then the filing deputy writes them a letter and says, report to such and such place.
The filing deputy looks at the case, evaluates it. If it's eligible, then determines what classes could benefit this individual, and then pens those particular classes in, sends a letter to the offender. We notify Pacific Education Services. They send a letter immediately following our letter, and we start the process rolling.
So theoretically, it could start within about a week and a half. That's kind of quick for the filing deputy.
You know, we're ready to get this up and running. I think we can. But
no, I mean, I'm talking about the offender. So they're arrested. They're site released. How soon would they be? Would the school contact them?
I believe it's 2 weeks. Am I correct?
No, it's really...
Actually, we're going to have him on the mic if he's going to speak to the issue.
Why don't you join me up at the mic, Mr. Stockman?
Madam Chairperson, members of the supervisors, Walter Stockman, Pacific Educational Services. We contact the people immediately upon getting the letter. We get a referral from the district attorney's office. We send out a letter to the offender, and then we call them or email them if we have their email address, and if we have both, we do both. And so it's our goal to enroll this person within 20 days of the date that we get the referral, because if we don't, then we return the case back to the district attorney's office for prosecution so these cases don't get cold.
Thanks.
Yes,
because it seems like, I mean, the further they get away from the time they were arrested, the less attention they're paying to you.
That's precisely the case. And so we call them immediately. Our contract says that we will contact them at least 3 times, but our policy, our internal policy, is that we'll do it 5 times until we have them enrolled and have them scheduled for a class, pay their fees, and they could be finished with the program in a matter of weeks, but they do have 90 days, in which case we return a notice of completion to the district attorney, either the North office or the South office.
Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Wolf?
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the contract, there's a statement in here about the restitution piece, that that it's paid to PES and then, bless you, and I guess it's paid monthly. I don't how does it work with restitution? Could an individual pay it? Are they required to pay it all at once? Do they pay over time? Is there going to be a limit to when they can pay?
We plan on processing these cases within 90 days. If an extension is necessary, that's an option. So if there's a restitution hitch, we can push it out a little further. But restitution is not something that is really negotiable. If we cannot obtain restitution within the parameters of the program, then the only means that we have of obtaining restitution, which we have to do under Marcy's law, is to obtain a probation order.
So, but the restitution piece is going to be monitored by PES. They're
Yes.
the ones that are making sure that it happens.
But we will be and we will be participating in that, and we'll be part of the repayment process, and the district attorney's office will definitely be overseeing the restitution.
Before I give up my mic, I just want to also thank you, Gordon. You I think we talked about this a couple months ago, maybe longer, when we had a long conversation, and I had a lot of questions then, and you answered everyone. And now, reading this and seeing your presentation, I think you have just done an exceptional job, and I really do believe this is a good thing for our community, for all the reasons that you stated. And also to DA Dudley, thank you for your leadership and support, because these are very innovative programs, and they make so much sense. They may not have immediately when you first talked to me, but the more time I had to think about it, it's very clear to me, the benefits. And I'm glad, sir, that you're here with us today. I just want to welcome you to our county and wish you all the success.
Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Wolf. Supervisor Gray, did you still have anything?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to ask one question, and then we do actually have one public speaker who's been waiting so patiently in the back. We do want to get to Chief Banks. But in looking at the agreement, it looks like it can be terminated without cause or for cause, on the annual anniversary of the agreement. Otherwise, it's good for 5 years. Okay, and then is there going to be, you'll report back to the board, say, after the end of the first year or so, and tell us how it's going, how many people you have in the program, and
We'd be delighted to
do some
that.
kind of a report back there?
Yes.
That would be great. The DA behind you is also nodding her head, so. All right, actually, if you want to come to the microphone.
Thank you. Madam Chair, fellow supervisors, I too am so impressed and so appreciative of the work Mr. Auchincloss has done on this. When I first brought the idea to him, he looked at me with a blank stare, and then immediately jumped on board, went down to Orange County, participated, watched, listened, and as time went on, he became more and more excited. And it's very thrilling for me to sit here today and listen to him articulate the program the way it was always meant to be, and we're thrilled. What I was going to say, Madam Chair, is that if you'd like us to come back in 3 months or 6 months and give you a quick report, we'd be honored to do so. So you can control our schedule.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. All right, Mr. Auchincloss, if you want to sit down just for a moment, and we're going to invite Chief Banks up.
Madam Chair, members of the board, I'm Chief Deputy Jeff Banks, representing the Sheriff's Department. We support this program totally, and the program is a positive alternative to incarceration and has the potential to reduce recidivism, as we all know is key to the mission that we have in the jail. And we said the DA's research has been thorough and shows that it's successful in other jurisdictions. I think it's going to be a valuable tool that will improve the efficiency and the effectiveness of the criminal justice system. And I want to echo what you've all said. Under the leadership of District Attorney Joyce Dudley, we're seeing not only new ideas, but she's open to all kinds of things that I think are being more effective. We work with her on a regular basis. And this is just one of many programs that we have seen, and I'm certain we're going to see more, that are going to solve these problems that are facing us in the justice system. So we appreciate this program and all the other things she's doing, and we are total in support of this. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you, and thank you for being here and for waiting. And so, DA Dudley, I hope that you have a tape recorder, because when the budget comes around, you can play back all these wonderful comments about the wonderful work of you and your department. So, okay, that's the only public speaker that we have, so we're to receive the report and approve the contract. Motion by Supervisor Carbajal, second by Supervisor Lavanino. There's no additional comments. All those that are in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Excellent job. Thank you very much. We'll look forward to hearing how it's going.